And a big welcome back to the podcast of A World Gone Mad. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf, Season 1, Episode 18. And for those of you that are new listeners to the podcast, let me explain. I'm not a newscaster. I'm not Walter Cronkite. I'm not the local news guy. I'm not reading you the news. If you want to find out more about the news, go online. I comment on the national and world events and about politics. And if you don't like my opinions, tough. I give you a phone number. I give you an email. I give you a Facebook group. I give you myriad ways to get back to me to say, hey, you're full of crap, Jeff, or I agree with you. So with that in mind, let's jump in, except for one thing I want to throw in. While I'm recording this is Monday. It's still Memorial Day for me here with my family. For those of you who celebrated the Memorial Day weekend, and remembering loved ones who have passed and friends, hopefully you've had a pleasant Memorial Day weekend and a safe weekend. And thank you for joining me again. We have Donald Trump's hush money trial starting today, or rather the wrap-up of the trial. Prosecuting team, the defense team, they're going to give their closing arguments. We're going to see where this goes. It takes a couple of days, a week, we don't know. Surprises happen in trials. I personally think that Donald is guilty. But I don't know if the prosecuting attorney proved enough for the jury to understand about what's happening. So I'm skeptical. I'm doubtful. I'm pessimistic. I hope I'm wrong. This past Saturday, there was the Libertarian Convention to do the nomination of whoever's going to lead that party in the presidential election. And Donald Trump spoke. And he asked the attendees to nominate him or at least vote for him. And former President Donald Trump was loudly booed and consistently booed throughout his speech. And especially when he said, hey, nominate me, vote for me, that's where they just let it out. The heckling began the moment the former president took the stage. Some of his supporters in the room tried to drown out the boos with chants of "We want Trump." So I love it. Trump basically said the libertarians want to vote for me, and it's very important too because we have to get rid of the worst president in history. We're trying, Donald. We really are trying. So I love it. I'm sorry. What did you think about that? It's great that someone is intelligent enough in this country, the libertarians, to realize what Donald truly is. Republicans who support him, his MAGA supporters, don't seem to understand that. So thank you, libertarians. I don't agree with your platforms, but thank you for being smart. In one of the shortest speeches to date, Trump finally left the stage after 34 minutes because of the boos. FYI, Trump did not file paperwork properly to qualify for any voting rounds. And going from crazy to deranged, RFK Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr., was also at the Libertarian nomination, and he was trying to get elected. And he got boos also. No surprise. He got eliminated in the first round after getting only 19 delegates to support him, just 2.07%. So thank you, libertarians, for being intelligent. Bravo! Now all you have to do is teach the MAGA supporters to be just as intelligent. So this was bothering to me. Fulton County DA appealing judge's decision. And the judge's decision in Georgia against Trump in that trial was the judge is throwing out 6 charges of the 41-count indictment against Trump and some of the co-defendants. And basically the judge said it lacked the required detail about what underlying crime the defendants were soliciting. And this is while Fani Willis is still waiting to find out if she's still be allowed to prosecute the case. I don't get it. You remember our President Reagan? And Reagan was known as the Teflon president. Trump makes Reagan look like a wussy. 6 of the charges dropped. No accountability yet. And the universe looks up in wonder and rolls its eyes. Nothing stuck to Reagan in the past. Will anything ever stick to Trump to put him in the position that he is wrong and there are consequences for his actions? Trouble at the border, right? That's what the Republicans and Donald and everyone's screaming, trouble at the border. People who write to me are Republicans. Trouble at the border, do something. Well, there was a bipartisan bill Republicans and Democrats kind of got together on, and they wanted to do something at the border, and Democratic side and Biden leaned towards what the Republicans wanted for the most part and compromised, and the bill came up for a vote again, and it was shot down again. Because the Republicans voted against it. Apparently some of the Democrats had problems. And they don't want to fix anything. They want to save it for Donald. That was the whole point of Donald saying, don't vote for the bill. So we have a bill to solve a lot of things. No bill is going to be perfect. We know this. And it was shot down again. Broken government. John Dean was right. Has been for a long time. And we're not going to get anywhere. And if anyone thinks we're going to get anywhere again with Donald in the White House, my Lord, put down the bong, step away from the pipe, stop your smoking, stop your drinking, and wake up. Most of you know about the Justice Alito flag fiasco, right? His wife flew the flag upside down because of some signs saying F Trump. She was called a CUNT. She got mad, flew the flag upside down. Big fiasco, right? Hey, guess what? There's a second flag at a different home of Justice Alito, and that flag is known as the Appeal to Heaven flag. Does that sound familiar to you? You know where that's from? That's from the January 6th insurrection. So Justice Alito is flying an upside-down flag, or rather a regular straight-up flag outside his second home, and causing a big fiasco. But here's the biggest fiasco of all this. Ready? The Republicans are defending Justice Alito. Senator John Cornyn, who sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee, is vying to be the next Senate GOP leader, argued that the left is targeting Alito because of his positions. The Democrats have nothing better to do. They don't go after Kagan. They don't go after, Sotomayor. They don't go after Jackson. They just want to harass the Supreme Court justices. And Justice Alito claiming freedom of speech is being stopped. My Lord, are you serious? Flag flying upside down, showing support for the January 6th insurrectionists. You need to recuse yourself from anything to do on any trial that you've been involved in or will be involved in the future, rather, that has to do with Donald Trump. Big fiasco, not going anywhere. Justices in turmoil, the Supreme Court in turmoil, that bastion of judgment, that big checks and balances, chaotic. And when I say chaotic, apparently the Supreme Court is tired, they're testy, they are fractured, and they're preparing for more drama. That 6-3 majority for the conservatives, where the liberals are getting upset with all the Roe v. Wade decisions and everything else came out. Well, there's about a dozen cases coming up, including the Donald Trump immunity case. And I want to read you something from the news. This is important. I want to make sure you got this. Apparently, the justices sounded testy and looked weary recently during the scheduled 1-hour hearings that often ran twice as long as they would be in any discussion. Several justices apparently held their heads in their hands. Alito rolled his eyes. Elena Kagan wore a pained expression. Clarence Thomas rubbed his face. And in some cases, when Ketanji Brown Jackson, the junior justice, the newest one, posed her final queries at the end of a cleanup round of questioning, most of the others didn't look her way. The biggest takeaway in all this is suggesting that the atmosphere in the court, showing many justices simply are not listening to each other or respecting divergent views, a pattern bound to make the final sprint of negotiation especially difficult. As a result, it could be harder for Chief Justice Roberts to kind of win unanimity. Say that 6 times fast. He tries to get people agreeing together to a consensus or something close to that, especially over the Donald Trump asking for immunity case that's so controversial. Personal discord in the Supreme Court right now basically makes the tone of the justices' written opinions harder all the way around. This was seen in March in the Trump ballot case from Colorado, or recently in a racially charged voting case of the redistricting of South Carolina. There's problems in the Supreme Court, and it seems like there's slow fractures, paper cuts, whatever you want to call it, cracks in the foundation. And that, frankly, is frightening for us as a citizen in the United States. Before I take a short break, I want to let you know about this. If you haven't seen this, if you haven't read this, I'm going to read this verbatim so you can put it in your head and get a reaction. Donald Trump posted, this was the 23rd of May, and he posted the following. Ivan Gerskovich, the reporter from the Wall Street Journal, who is being held by Russia, will be released almost immediately after the election, but definitely before I assume office. He will be home, safe, and with his family. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, will do that for me, but not for anyone else, and we will be paying nothing to Russia, says Donald Trump. So, takeaways. Either he's full of garbage, or there's in bed again with talking about Putin and Trump together. So Trump is going to get this reporter released because Putin wants to help Donald with the election, and Donald says, I owe nothing to Vladimir, but he's helping us. So what do you believe? Nothing with nothing? Donald throws something out there, tries to get a reaction, and rally his MAGA supporters? Or this is 100% true, and that is definitely dangerously on fire, a conflagration of emotions from me and everyone else who's listening should feel this way, that if Putin and Donald are working together, what does this say about the war in Ukraine? What does this say about the world in general? This has got to stop, and that's why Donald cannot be anywhere near the White House. And if you want even more outrageous, well, get a load of this, everyone, okay? Trump apparently wants the Republicans to pass a law to keep him out of jail forever. Donald's 100% convinced he's going to win the 2024 election, and he's quietly pressuring Republicans to pass a law that kind of inoculates him against any future prosecutions, words to that effect. In other words, sign a bill that keeps him out of jail forever. And I have so many things I want to say, but this is not an X-rated show. Hey, you out there, what is your opinion and takeaway on this? Because this is shocking. This is the abuse of power I've been talking about, that I've been screaming about for 18 episodes, that Donald doesn't give a flying F about the rule of law. As long as he's safe, his family's safe, secondary. He really doesn't care about his family. He wants to pass a law that keeps him out of jail forever. Wow. The lunacy from Donald Trump just keeps growing ad infinitum. Non-stop to infinity and beyond. Hey, I'm going to take a short break. Let me let you know about our Facebook group. You need to join the Facebook group. Why? Because there's other members there already like yourself who just hate what's going on in this country. Do not want Donald back again. Do not want the MAGA supporters. The Facebook group is easy. It's called A World Gone Mad Podcast. You have to use the word podcast. A World Gone Mad Podcast. It is for members, or rather listeners, who listen to the podcast to join and continue the conversation there. So join A World Gone Mad Podcast. Want to see you there. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I'm going to give my commentary finally about the upcoming debate, supposedly, between Donald and President Biden.
This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad.
You're listening to A World Gone Mad. Thank you. And you could reach me by sending me an email. And the email is aworldgonemad.podcast, aworldgonemad.podcast @gmail.com. Leave your first name in the email, your age, your location, where you're, listening to us from, what app, etc., and any comments you have. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe. That way I can let you know when the new episode goes online. It's automatic and it's free. Also, if you can review, rate, rank the show on the app you're listening from, that helps me tremendously. I thank you for listening, whether you just joined us for the first time or have been listening for a while. I appreciate that. And now, back to the show.
This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad.
Welcome back. Jeff Allen Wolf here with you, talking on the commentary that I want to let you know about the debate coming up. The President Biden and Donald debate, supposedly. Do you think there's going to be a debate? I'm personally looking forward to the debate, but I'm also personally not looking forward to the debate. I have trepidation here. I have caution. I'm excited yet calmly contained, worrying about certain aspects. Let me address the positive. Okay. From what I understand, there's going to be no audience. That's the concession that Donald had to give to the Trump team. No audience. You know what that means? I think that's monumental. Donald craves an audience. Donald breathes. That's his fuel. And without an audience, it's going to be President Biden and the moderators. And Donald's objections, Donald's debating style does not do well without an audience. Think about this, okay? Another thing, this is the first time two presidents have ever debated each other, and it's been 4 years, a little over 4 years since they last faced each other. So Donald, without an audience, I think will sound annoying. He will be interrupting. He'll sound crass. So those are the positives. I think this is an ideal debate style that works against Donald Trump. The negative. There's Biden's age. Hey, someone could be 50 and not do well. Someone could be 80 and not do well. It doesn't matter. But in general, Biden has been slow with certain things, with certain commentary. Does he bring the style from his State of the Union address, which was brilliant? Or does he get rattled by Donald and his constant interruptions? That's important. Thirdly, will the moderators be able to contain Donald? I personally think, and I don't know how this can be pulled off, Donald's mic should be cut off every time he interrupts. If Donald doesn't let President Biden talk, and vice versa, the moderators need to be sharp and clippy and say, hey, you need to let the person answer, shut up. And if they can do that, which I don't think they can, we've got a debate. A debate only works when not everyone is talking at once. A perfect example is the NBA TNT staff, Kenny the Jet Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley. When they all start talking at once, people get annoyed. You see the comments, hey guys, can everyone stop talking at once? You need to be able to hear the debaters. Will this debate move the needle? I don't know. Donald's side thinks it's going to make President Biden, look feeble. They cannot raise the bar or set the bar too low for President Biden. If they do, and Biden does the State of the Union type of style and address, he hits it out of the park. They kind of have to come across, this is Donald's team, to say, President Biden is an incredible debater, fantastic debater. Set the premise where if President Biden slips up, he falls below the expectations that the Donald team set. Here's the question, or rather, what we found out. President Biden is getting extensive prep, supposedly, maybe even a Camp David session. The Biden team feels they can get the president into shape to be to that level of magnificence in the debate. Donald's team is apparently worried that the Biden team can get him to that level of quality. So they're prepping President Biden. On the other side, Donald Trump and the preparation for the debate. Here's what's taking place. That's right, crickets, guys. Not a zippo. You think Donald's going to prepare? The Trump team knows that Donald doesn't prepare. You know, Donald's the smartest man in the room. He's smarter than generals. He's the biggest billionaire in the history of. He's the greatest president. He has the biggest hands. You know the deal. Trump is not going to prep for this, guys. He thinks he's ready. So, good. Let the overconfidence happen that way. There's not going to be much from the prep team, from Trump, listening to what his staffers are saying. So, you're the listening audience. What do you think? How's the debate going to go? And the biggest question that's rumbling around in the past couple of weeks, will Donald Trump pull out of the debate? Does he show up? Does he feel he has anything to lose if he does debate? Hey, if the hush money trial has ruled against him and he's found guilty, does that make a difference for Trump showing up, that he's desperate enough that he has to debate? Or if Donald Trump is found innocent, does he feel there's no sense in debating, I don't have to show up? Or does that flip? How does that play into the mentality? This is going to be interesting. As far as the debate, the thick plottins. All right, so what's your opinion, listening audience? The Wolfpack listening audience? You know how to reach me by email. You know about the Facebook group, A World Gone Mad Podcast. Now I'm going to give you a phone number, 833-399-9653, 833-399-9653. Toll free, 7 days a week, anywhere in the continental United States and Canada. It's just a voice system. Let me know. Want to hear your feedback on the debates and anything else we talked about today. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf. Going to come back next week with another episode of A World Gone Mad. Until then, stay hopeful.